Welcome back, everybody. In the last video, we created a really cool, fully reusable carousel view. Let's jump into the Explore view now and actually put that on the screen. So I'm going to Command Shift O to quick open the Explore view. Let's jump into it. Get the preview working here. In the Explore view, later in this course, we're going to actually load some data from the server for the featured avatars, the categories, as well as the popular avatars down here. For right now, let's just put some fake data. So we'll do @state private var. Let's call this the featured avatars. And it will be an array of avatar model. We'll set it equal to the avatar model.mocks. So our mock data that we made in the last video, a couple videos back. And then in here, let's delete this cell that we put on the screen. And we're going to use a SwiftUI list. The list has some really nice, just default UI. And that's what we're going to use in this course. I think if you can build the UI yourself using the list UI, it just saves us a lot of time and effort, as you guys are going to see. The first thing we're going to do here is put on the screen our carousel view. In this list, we're going to use sections. I will put a link below on how to use lists in SwiftUI if you've never used them before. But you can see the little text up here, featured avatars. This is a section in a list, and that is going to be the header in the section. This will be a section, and this will be the header. So let's put in a section with a header. Let's look for the header completion here. Click enter. Let's just put text that says hi. And the header is going to be a text that says featured avatars. Cool. In here, we'll put in our carousel view. We'll pass in our featured avatars. Click enter, and this will be each avatar in. Let's add in our hero cell view. Let's open the parentheses and then Option Enter to get the full initializer. Triple click, Control M, and now let's go avatar.name, avatar.character description, avatar.profile image. All right, so this is working, but it looks like we have this white area that we don't want in this cell. So we're using this list, and this list has some native formatting that in a lot of cells, like these cells down here, we're actually going to want that native UI. But for a couple cells like this one, we just want to get rid of that extra formatting. Let's go ahead and do that quick. Let's go ahead and let's change the list row background. So rather than being white, we'll make it color.clear. And actually, before we do that, we can see that there's actually some inset here, some extra basically padding that's baked into the row. So let's change the list row insets to a new instance of edge insets with 0 pixels from all edges. And then let's add the background of clear. And now we have our object here. This is looking better. This removing the list row padding and the background, we're going to use a bunch of times in this course. You can even see it down here. We're already going to use it right here. So let's just make this a reusable modifier. We already have our extensions file. I'm going to cut this. Let's go into view plus extension. Let's do a function. Let's call this remove list row formatting. Let's return some view. Let's return self, the view with these two modifiers. Cool. And now let's come back and just remove list row formatting. That looks great. As I scroll on this, if you look really closely, it kind of glitches right there. It's kind of hard to see because it happens so fast, but there's a little bit of a glitch that's happening. And it's kind of a SwiftUI bug. I think it has something to do either with how this cell uses a generic type or that this cell is rendering through a lazy VStack. But I found that we can actually just solve that by making the cell a ZStack that always renders on the screen and putting this inside the ZStack here, just like that. And now that magic glitch just goes away. Don't ask me how. All right, we got a lot more code to add to this screen. So I'm going to cut this section here. And I'm going to move it to the bottom. I'm going to write a private var. Let's call this the featured section. Make this of type sum view, and then paste in our section. And let's paste that in our list. Now in this video, we're going to actually build out this categories row here. This is going to be all the categories that we have in our app. We already made a bunch of categories using an enum in a previous video. So first, let's build out this cell, and then we'll build out this row. Let's open up the navigator. Let's go to our reusable components, our views section. Let's right click, create a new file from template, SwiftUI view, and we'll call this the category cell view. Let's click create, jump in here, And we're going to initialize our category cell again with primitive types. So we'll have a title of type string, and I'm going to make this say maybe aliens. Everybody loves aliens. We'll have an image name of type string, and we'll set this equal to constants.randomImage. Again, I'm making this so that we can use this with any image. It doesn't have to be a category, even though we're calling it category cell. Let's also inject the font, and the default font we're going to use is .title2. And lastly, let's inject the corner radius of type CG float, and we'll make it 16. All right, I will challenge you guys to go ahead and try to build this cell. It should be relatively straightforward. But one thing we are going to do is use the aspect ratio modifier and make it of aspect ratio.1.fit. So I'm not going to give it a fixed frame or a fixed size, but I am going to fix it to being exactly a square. So go ahead and try to build this if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to go and build it now. It's very similar to our other cell. So we're going to have an image on the background. We're going to use an image loader view. Let's pass in our image name. Let's give that the aspect ratio of 1. And while we're here, I'm going to make the frame on the preview closer to what we have in the screen here, which is a width of 150. So we've got a nice square. Let's give this a corner radius of the corner radius that we are injecting. On top of the image, we'll add an overlay. Let's look for the one with the alignment. We're going to align it to the bottom left again, and we'll click enter on the content. The content's going to be just a text with the title that we are passing in. Let's give that a font with the font that we are passing in. Let's give this padding of 16 to push it off the bottom edge, and a foreground style of .white because I'm putting the text on top of the image. Now, the last time we put text on top of an image that we did in the top cell, we put a gradient behind the text so that we could see it. If I jump into the hero cell view, we put in this background gradient. If you guys remember, if I comment it out, we can see it go away, and it makes the text really pop out. Let's reuse this again. And because we're now reusing this twice, I'm going to make it a reusable modifier. So I'm going to cut this. Let's jump into our view file. Command-Shift-O, quick open the view plus extension. And let's make another func here. And I'm going to call this one adding gradient background for text. Let's return some view, and I'll paste this in. And we don't need the period there. All right, so back on our hero cell view, let's adding background gradient for text. Should look good. Jump to our category cell, adding background gradient for text, and that looks a little bit better. We can see it's cutting off here. So let's do a frame with a max width of infinity and alignment leading before that. There we go. Because we're always putting the text on top of the image, in addition to whatever font we inject here, I'm also going to always make the font weight semi-bold, just so that it's always a little bit thicker. Even if we use a smaller font like body, it's still going to be a little bit thicker and a little bit more readable for the user. Let's keep that title too. In the preview, before we leave here, I'm just going to make a quick VStack, and I'm going to make one more here, and let's make this one maybe 300, just so that we can see that we can now reuse this with multiple sizes. Let's jump back to our Explore view now. I'm going to actually just copy the featured section here, and let's paste another one up here. And then we are going to change this to the categories. Now for the carousel view, for the top section here, we made another component for this whole section. And we can go and make a component for this row, but I'm not going to use this row on any other screen. And honestly, sometimes it's easier and faster as a developer to just build this row in this screen rather than making separate components every time. So there's nothing wrong if we want to go and make a component that just holds this row. But for this row, for this instance, we're just going to opt not to. So I'm just going to build this row in the screen right here. And it's going to be a scroll view with the horizontal axis, just like before. And let's get the categories that we want to put in here. So 2 videos back, we made the avatar model. And the avatar model, we also created a bunch of character options between man, woman, alien, dog. We want to loop on all of these cases. So let's make this case iterable. And then in order to loop, let's also make these hashable so that we can loop on the hash value of each of them. So now let's go back to our Explorer view. Let's create an @state private var. Let's call this categories of type. It'll be array of character option. We'll set it equal to character option dot all cases. So all of those enum cases. All right, quick challenge again for you guys, those of you who are doing the challenge. Finish this scroll view and make it look like this. This is going to be another paging scroll view, but we're going to make it view aligned. So the code will be very similar to what we did in our carousel view, except instead of the scroll target behavior being paging, we're going to make this view aligned. Go ahead and try it out. And if you do not want to do it, I will do it right now. Let's make an H stack here. We know there's only a couple character options, so we don't need a lazy H stack. Let's give a spacing of 12, and let's do for each. Let's go for each, and the autocomplete is not helping us. Come on, Apple. There should be for each categories. These are hashable, so we'll do id \self. And this will be for each category in. And then on the screen here, we are going to put a CategoryCell view. I'm going to option enter, triple click, control M. This will be the category dot capitalized, category dot raw value dot capitalized. The image name, we don't have the image name yet, so let's just put constants dot random image for now. And the font and the corner radius I will leave as the default. On the scroll view, let's make the scroll view a fixed height with a frame and a height of 140, so it's a little bit bigger. This is looking good. Now we just need our paging. Let's add these scroll indicators hidden, so we hide those again. Scroll target layout. Let's do the scroll target behavior as view aligned. So now when I swipe, it should align up to a cell as it's swiping, which is not fully paging, but it's view aligned paging, which is really nice. And there we go. Just like the featured section, let's move this to a private variable. So let's cut this down here, private var category section of type some view, paste that in. Category section will be here, keeping the body section nice and readable for other engineers. That looks pretty damn good. All right, you guys are doing great. The Explorer view is really starting to come together. And in the next video, we're going to wrap up the Explorer view as we make this cell and this section down here. Let's wrap up this view with Option Command C. Let's make this a feature, and let's call this the CategoryCell. And let's stage and commit. Push it up to GitHub, and I will see y'all in the next video.